Hello and welcome to The Horror of It All, the show where we discuss and celebrate horror in all media. In our last episode, we reviewed Lucky McKee's 2011 film, The Woman. That discussion led into a broader conversation about extremes in horror film. You know, that kind of got me to thinking, Michael, that I remember, actually I ordered this movie after reading your post on Facebook about, about the high praise you had for it. And I think you even put a little warning that it's some, intense stuff.
Yeah.
But I kind of wondered, like, what will I make of it? And yeah, I absolutely loved it. So, since I love the movie, then people who are screaming about how terrible it is and no one should watch this kind of filth, I mean, they seem like morons. But I mean, it gets me to wondering, like, do we all have our limits? I mean, I guess that's an obvious yes, but I feel as though, as a horror fan, as someone who, proudly identifies himself as a horror fan, and wears, t-shirts from Fright Rags that show these horrific images, and we enjoy stuff that a lot of polite society would say, like, that's entertainment. How can you, how can you watch that and call it enjoyable? And, I don't feel much need to spend lots of time defending my love of horror. But then sometimes I find myself looking at something, or not looking at it, hearing about something, and making a decision that I don't want to look at it, not even once, not even with one eye closed, and that thought goes through my head. That's entertainment? And then gives me pause. It makes me wonder, like, am I any different? Is it just, I don't want to be someone who's saying everything I like is great, and everything that's more extreme than what I like is sick. But
you're not doing that. You're making your choice for yourself. You're not out here on this show going, don't watch this film, don't watch this film.
No, and this show will never be about that.
Right. So that's the difference between you and then the repressed polite society who wants to tell us what we should be watching and shouldn't be watching. So yes, everybody does have their limits, and they do have styles that they don't want to see on screen. But that's a personal choice, and when it stays a personal choice, it doesn't harm anyone.
I mean, I think a lot of horror fans, I mean, hardcore is a word that comes into play a lot. And we pride ourselves on that. We don't want to be namby-pamby horror fans who like, safe horror movies with, I don't know what that is. Maybe vampires and zombies and such are safe, and werewolves, but things about, I don't know, for some people maybe a movie where a guy in a wheelchair is killed by a chainsaw-wielding maniac would be, how could anyone enjoy that? That's sick. And for other people, a woman going to a secluded cabin to write a book and being gang raped by 4 guys and then getting revenge on them, that's sick. I don't, there's a point where, well, I've heard about movies, and I know there are a couple of movies that I haven't seen yet, and I'm saying yet to these because, largely because you're such a fan of them. You want to say what I'm referring to?
The Human Centipede films.
Yes, I haven't, shouldn't admit this, but here I am. Yep, you heard it here first, folks. I haven't seen either of them yet. I definitely intend to see the first one. I'm not sure I intend to see the second one, but that seems to be the one that you're...
The second one is better by far. than the first. And it's not because of the outrageousness of the film. It's, to me, that's just another device of what I'm watching. I went into this. I was the same as you. I said, I don't want to watch these films. I am not a Paranormal Activity film fan because I waited for that film for 2 years, and the hype grew and grew and grew. Finally got to see it, and this movie's terrible.
So I actually haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Sorry if you are.
I know a lot of horror fans who love the series. So
yeah,
that's what makes the world interesting.
Yeah,
but
I'm not one. It just, but this isn't about Paranormal Activity. So when the Human Centipede hype started to build, I said, I'm not getting fooled again. I said, I don't need to see faces and butts and etc.
I don't think we even need to explain to our viewers. If you're watching this show, you've at least heard, what it's about. I mean, you can buy scarves of the people, represent.
Yeah, Barbie dolls, etc.
Right.
So I had no interest in seeing the film, and it took maybe 2 years after it came out for me to see it, and I saw 1 and 2 back to back.
Oh, you did?
I did, back to back, and I appreciated 1. I didn't think it was horribly over the top. I thought it was very stylistically made. It looked gorgeous. The story wasn't terrible. It wasn't bad at all. But then part 2 came on. It was one of the most beautiful films I have ever seen.
Wow.
It was a British comedy. It was it was an art film.
Are you being served sort of vibe to it? Is that what
I'm a big Fawlty Towers fan. It would be great if if it was in that vein. There was no hotel or anything, but picture all these centipede pieces as being in the hotel. Anyway,
and
but
a Spanish waiter running around trying to make sense of it all.
He was making the centipede.
Right.
A remake. It was an art film. It was gorgeous. This film is black and white with 1 scene of color.
Oh,
which I don't need to tell you about.
I don't think this is as well known as what the Human Centipede is. So I understand that this in the reality of the second film, the first film is a movie.
Yes. Yes.
There's no continuity of characters or anything. The second film is focuses on a man who becomes obsessed watching the Human Centipede over and over and over again, among other things he's doing at the same time.
It was a brilliant idea.
That is a good idea compared to the usual sequel.
Yeah. So it's brilliantly shot. It is absolutely gory. Things happen in it that this is unreal. What I'm watching right now, you may want to look away, but the film is so gorgeous. You just can't look away because it's amazing. So it's not what's happening. Do I want to see what's happening on that screen in another film? Probably not. But watching it in this film, gorgeous.
It makes it worthwhile.
Absolutely, it does. If you can separate yourself from the almost the reality of what's happening on the screen and appreciate it for the story, which is great, and the film itself. Bravo.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to at some point. I doubt it'll show up on one of the regular cable channels anytime soon. So probably have to.
It'd be great if it was on NBC.
Yeah, movie of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sunday night. So taking the extremes step beyond that, beyond anything that I had heard of before. I can't remember quite how long ago it was. Is it a couple of years now? Or maybe not that long. That I first heard of a Serbian film. So this is not a review. I haven't seen it. I can honestly say I'll put my horror fan cred on the line and say that I'm very content with the idea of going into my grave one day at a ripe old age, never ever having seen this film. And I'm not saying it's filth. I'm not saying it's trash. I'm not saying that that it shouldn't have been made, or that, you know, it's going to destroy the, you know, the moral fiber of our culture. But, damn, I just couldn't enjoy watching what I know, and I have heard confirmation from, both from, you know, media reviews and from people I know personally who've seen it, that these things are depicted on the screen. And you have seen it.
I have seen it. I'm not going to go insane like Human Centipede 2.
You did say it was well done.
It was very well done. The story is very good. And, you know, a lot of times story is really what separates, you know, what I can't watch and what I can watch. Because if the story is really got me hooked, then what I'm seeing, as extreme as it may be, it has a lessening effect of what I'm watching on screen, because I'm enjoying the plot of the story. And Serbian Film was like that. I mean, I would say I don't necessarily ever have to see it again. Whereas Human Centipede 2 I'll watch any time of the day. But I don't regret watching it by any means. I don't feel that I was personally damaged in any way by seeing it. But I won't spend my money to buy it.
I don't. It's possible that our although you've seen it and I haven't, so I mean, a big part of my decision, like, no thank you for that, I mean, is the fact that, you know, I'm a father. I have kids. I understand that I don't know if it's a protagonist, but the main character, I'm not sure what he is, of this movie is a father as well.
Yes.
And has a young son, and I have heard of, you know, what goes down at the end, what happens either at the end or near the end of the movie, and I don't think I could watch that and be able to say, wow, this is brilliantly shot, or this is, you know, and I was told by Christy Jett, actually, that is, for her, that was the truly disturbing scene of the movie, even though it wasn't the notorious scene that everybody talks about, which she said because it looked fake.
Right.
You know, it wasn't as much.
No, that wasn't. Sorry. Yeah, you're exactly right. That's the scene you're talking about. The climax of the film is the most disturbing. I can totally agree with that.
I mean, I don't know, can we say what the notorious scene is, or?
All right, why not? I mean, you know, if you haven't seen the film and want to, and don't want to hear the end of the movie, you know, turn the channel for a minute.
Right, you know, or mute the sound. But I mean, you know, what everyone was talking about, people who were talking about this film were talking about when it was new and people were seeing it for the first time. When I first heard about it, I thought, rape of a newborn infant, right out of the womb, in the delivery room. And I thought, come on. I thought, someone really, all I could imagine was someone thinking, what's the most, you know, what'll put us on the map as the most badass filmmakers ever? Let's rape of a newborn infant. No one's ever shown that before. No one ever would. People won't believe it. We'll be run out of town on a rail and we'll become famous as a result. I don't know. To me, it struck me as a very cynical thing to do, ugly thing to do. But we're talking about horror movies, okay. But
that scene did nothing to enhance the plot, and that's why, to me,
and so you think maybe it was to let's
put
this in to get us talked about.
Yeah.
And it did. It worked.
Yeah.
I don't know if it. Maybe that's going a little too much with the get people talking about it and they'll all want to see it. I don't know. I think maybe a lot of people thought, oh, no.
I do think there were scenes that got talked about a lot more, at least in the magazines and whatnot. You know, certain deaths and whatnot that were talked about more.
Okay.
And you know, and meant more to the story.
Maybe those just didn't, either I didn't read them or those didn't stick in my mind as much because really when I first read about that scene, my mind was kind of trying to push it out. Like, you know, like I've heard people joke when they see something really like gross or something. I think, oh, I wish I could unsee that. With this, I was thinking, I haven't seen it. I wish I could unknow that. And I can't say I've thought that about really anything to do with a movie before.
Well, you know, here's the thing about
maybe the end of Pink Flamingos. Anyway.
This style of film, the really extreme films, and people have classified The Woman as a really extreme film, and that's why we're talking about all of this. A movie like a Serbian film, which you know, I said I never have to see again, but I appreciated watching it and I liked it.
Okay.
But I liked it, but I don't want to spend my money on it. Don't need to see it again. Because to me, it didn't affect me personally, which was why I was so able to watch this, you know, and watch all the horrible things happening without really reacting to it. Whereas you have a film like The Woman, which deeply affected me, affects so many people, and that's a movie that I will spend my money on. I will watch, you know, over and over and over again, because I have an emotional attachment to this film. You know, even, you know, if we talk about Human Centipede again, you know, part one, I'll watch it here and there, and you know, part two, it's kind of like a hybrid, because it didn't the story didn't affect me, but the filmmaking sure did. You know, so that still hit me on a personal level. You know, as someone who tries to make films, you know, etc. I really got a lot from that film. Not necessarily the depravity, because I think Human Centipede really tried to make a film, a film, whereas a Serbian film, I believe, tried to make an outrageous but good film. You know, but they weren't trying to make art necessarily.
I mean, I understand that it is. I mean, it, like, you know, The Woman has a statement to make, a point to make. I guess a Serbian film does too. There is a political statement going on here somewhere. Do you need to know about Serbian politics?
No, you don't. I don't see really any political.
Oh,
there's maybe a subtext of it.
I thought that was kind of used to justify the atrocities that were being shown. Was that they were exposing the dehumanization of people by the regime of I don't know. I
think the characters did that to themselves, actually, in that film.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But I mean, you know, there are others. I had the DVD of the original I Spit on Your Grave, which I alluded to earlier, for its plot, its basic plot. For a couple years before I watched it, because I think I got a really good deal on the DVD, and I said, you know, I'm going to want to watch that someday, so I'll get it. And then I just procrastinated it. And I thought, like, well, I'm not going to watch that when the kids are home, and I'm not going to, you know, there has to be the right time. But it was really something I didn't really want to see. And it was only when I knew I was going to be going to Festival of Fear and meeting Camille Keaton, who stars in the film, that I thought, well, I can't go and have her sign this, and I haven't seen it yet, so I've got to watch it. I was expecting not to like it. I mean, my first time hearing about the film was when I was a boy, watching Siskel and Ebert, you know, tear it apart as the most reprehensible excuse for a motion picture ever foisted on an unsuspecting public, and just a hideous, wretched piece of trash with no redeeming value. And, you know, in later years, I had heard that other intelligent people really liked and respected it. And it was, while some saw it as the most horrible, misogynistic, hateful of women thing ever made, there were other people who thought it was very empowering to women. I thought, okay, well, that sounds like if there's that much disagreement, it must at least be interesting. I actually liked it. Not an, ooh, I want to watch that again and again. I'd be concerned if someone said, I want to watch that again and again. I probably, wouldn't be enthused about spending lots of time with that, because I mean, the rape sequence in that is about 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
That's hard to get through, and it makes the whole second part of the movie make sense and justifies what she does later. But again, I can't just give it a blanket recommendation. I haven't seen the remake yet, but I did have a lot of respect for it when I saw it, and
that's funny, because that for me is a film that I definitely never would need to watch again.
See,
for me, I can't watch films with, well, I can, but I don't enjoy watching films with rape scenes. Probably nobody does enjoy watching it, but you get what I'm saying. I would rather just turn it off. And I actually gave that 2 shots. I watched that twice, and I thought, maybe I'd
find more the second time, as can sometimes happen.
I really loved the revenge aspect of it, but it was just a really hard film for me to watch. So there you go. It's it's another difference there.
And while I wouldn't I would watch that again. And maybe, but lots of time would go by between viewings. Once watching it, I'm good for a while. I thought Camilla Keaton gave a pretty amazing performance, and we could, I had thought about maybe it's in a future episode of this program, actually focusing on it in a little bit more depth, because I thought it was really quite interesting. So that's the bell, meaning that our rambling discussion has, where we're not talking about any film in particular, has come to an end. I'm joined now by Alex, who is in the Horror of It All studio to review a video game. Welcome, Alex. What game would you like to tell us about?
Well, today I will be reviewing Lollipop Chainsaw. It is a very fun game about a teenaged cheerleader who hunts zombies in this game and has a very stylish chainsaw to hunt them with.
And where did I have played the game, it is a heck of a lot of fun. Can you remind us, though, where do the lollipops come in?
She's addicted to lollipops. They are like her favorite thing in the world.
And in terms of gameplay, I believe they heal her?
They are health boosts.
So they give her health boosts. And there are certain special lollipops, golden lollipops,
there are golden lollipops
to find during the game. I certainly liked it a lot. What did you like most about Lollipop Chainsaw?
Well, I thought it was very fun, and it was quite silly, hence, golden lollipops. I mean, you never find that anywhere else. And so, I just enjoyed the game. It's not a very long game. Like, I beat it in one night, actually. And it's not, very long for those people who like the hardcore long games that take a long time.
Right. This isn't
that.
Skyrim.
It's definitely not Skyrim, but it is very fun to play. There are some very hard parts, though. One of these hard parts would be during the Fulci Fun Center.
Fulci Fun Center. Yeah. If I'll comment about that in a moment. But what was particularly difficult about
there was
a
game that she went into, like an arcade game. And it was it took me literally 10 times to beat it.
It took me more when I played the game. It's what you get for this portion of the game are kind of old style video games or video game kind of parodies within the video game.
This game, yeah.
So the girl you're playing, whose name is Juliet, goes into this arcade and then has to actually be in some of the arcade games as in order to advance to the next level of the story. So the fact that it's called the Fulci Fun Center, there's the O'Bannon farm, her team, the team that she cheers is the San Romero nights. So it's got lots of horror in jokes to make, you know, horror movie fans, you know, happy. It's it's a Suda 51 game, which I think that studio's games are kind of noted for being a little off-center in terms of and kind of quirky in a cool way. And it was actually written by James Gunn, who is a you know, who has written written several horror films and is a name in the horror community. Slither, among other good movies. But you said you beat it in 6 hours. Is it about 6 hours?
About
is it I guess when a game can be played through that quickly, the question that comes up is, does it have replayability?
It does have moderate to high replayability. I mean, there are high scores that you can go back and try to beat. There are, of course, the golden lollipops that I think give extra things.
And what's that challenge with in terms of if she kills a bunch of several zombies with one swipe?
She has to decapitate them.
Okay.
Decapitate at once. One swipe of their chainsaw has to. One time I got, I think, 7.
You did get 7 in one swipe?
No, wait, it was 6. I was so close to 7. But yes, there is another plot element, and that is her boyfriend,
Yeah.
Nick. He was bitten by a zombie, the main enemy, and
that happens early on in the game, in case you're worried about it being a spoiler.
Very early on. And she does a magical ritual to make it so his head can stay alive and talk and think without the rest of the body.
Okay. Oh, so because he's wherever he's bitten on his body, she separates his head from his body so the infection doesn't spread to his brain, and then keeps his head alive and attached to
her belt.
Her belt, it appears. All right. Well, I think our viewers would be eager to see some actual gameplay. So why don't we go to that, and you can tell us what's happening as we watch.
Here I am in the Fulci Fun Center, killing some zombies, and there are some special zombies, the ones with the names above them. I have to try to kill this one. It's kind of like a strange ballerina zombie. And if I do, which, oh, look, I just killed him, you get bonus money, and that's good. Right now I'm trying to save this guy with the SOS symbol above him, telling me that he's in danger. And yes, there are crawling zombies. Where's the last one? Oh, there, found it. Now I killed him, so the elevator opens. I want to go into the elevator, but first I want to get my cash reward as my guy disappears. Okay, go into the elevator and I can move on to the next section. Here I am in that game, within a game that exists in this game, and I just died. R.I.P. Juliet, there's my grave. Alright, now try again, dodge the minivans, and see if I can get a better score than I did last time, hopefully. Alright, now I'm driving down the street with my chainsaw, trying to get to the main boss battle at the end of the game, and it's not going to be easy because I'm being stopped by a group of zombies, which, there they are, coming after me. So I'm going to need to try to kill them. And there, the sparkle hunting bonus, I got that for killing 4 zombies, decapitating them at the same time with one swing of my chainsaw. Alright. And sometimes you have to button mash to get the zombies off of you, and if you don't do it fast enough, they will pile on like that. Alright, now here I am at the main boss battle. There's Killabilly, the main zombie boss. Looks kind of like a fat Elvis zombie thing. And you have to use multiple weapons while fighting him because it's, you want to make it harder for you. You have to use your chainsaw blaster and your chainsaw. And you have to try to dodge those flying zombies that come out of his mouth. Yes, it's pretty hard and it can get frustrating, but never give up.
Well, that certainly looked like some enjoyable gameplay.
It was quite enjoyable. Quite enjoyable.
Well, what would you like people to know? Anything else besides what we've said about this game? If they're deciding, a fan of. While this game isn't scary, but it's certainly a horror-themed video game. It's a game for horror fans. What would you say to a horror fan who likes video games about Lollipop Chainsaw?
Well, I would say, first of all, it is quite enjoyable to play. There are some jokes that are funny, as you would expect from a joke. And I just really liked it. I thought it was good.
It was very, I thought a lot of it was very clever. It definitely packs some surprises. And starts out maybe not terribly difficult, and then becomes and has its moments where it's
very difficult.
Challenging to the point of for an old guy playing video games, kind of frustrating, but a lot of fun. It's a game I would certainly want to keep in my collection as a fan of this sort of thing, and every once in a while maybe go back to it.
That's good. I actually met Juliet.
Now, Alex, we've talked about this. What happens in video games isn't real.
No,
it's just something that...
I really did. At Rock and Shock, she was there.
Juliet was a Rock and Shock?
Yep.
Do you have a picture of that or something?
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, there she is. Kind of would have been nice to introduce me. She looks a little bit like a friend of ours named Nichelle, but well, I'm glad you got to meet her. And if Suda51 ever decided on a Lollipop Chainsaw 2, I would be pre-ordering. How about you?
I'd play it in another day.
Absolutely. Okay. Thanks very much, Alex, for your video game review.
Thank you.
That's it for this episode. Please send us your questions, comments, and suggestions to horrorofitallshow@gmail.com. We'll see you next time on the next episode of The Horror of It All.